You're very welcome along to the Matchbook Football Podcast as we head into what is becoming a decent Premier League title race and a decent card this weekend in the Premier League. And we're just recording this the day after a sensational Champions League final day finish. We've just been debating the new format off air. That probably won't make on air due to time, but let's just say we all thoroughly enjoyed last night, and seeing those scenes in Benfica, I think, says more maybe about football than the format, but it was just sensational drama nonetheless. Before we get going, a reminder, and we're always not great at asking for this, but the one thing we do ask, if you can take 2 seconds, hit that like button. More likes we get on this video on YouTube, helps our content get out to a wider audience. But for most people I know who listen on the podcast, if you can take 2 seconds and leave us a review, 5-star wherever you're listening, on Apple, Spotify, or whatever, it's much appreciated by all the team here at Matchbook, and it helps us continue making these podcasts. And of course, we've seen a lot of people sign up, particularly over the last couple of weeks, with our new bonus code for this season, POD50, POD50, and you can get £50 worth in free bets when you bet £50. It's our most generous offer out there at the moment. Full T's and C's available on screen. So just head over to our YouTube channel again if you're listening on the podcast. Guys, let's get into it. I think, 3 of these are really, really good games. We're going to start with Liverpool versus Newcastle. Saturday night game here, brought forward from the 12:30 slot. Adrian, we'll start with you on this one. I watched the goal show last night. I just seen every 2 seconds they were going to Anfield. Virgil van Dijk getting a hat-trick of assists. It was a crazy sort of a game where most of the players Liverpool wanted to score got on the score sheet and seemed to play well. So we've had a few false dawns in terms of turning points, but outside the Bournemouth game, they are on a bit of an unbeaten streak, albeit a lot of draws. Was that 6-0? Does that sort of build a bit of momentum going into Saturday night?
It doesn't do any harm, does it? Just the 38 shots, I think 5.91 expected goals.
Which is nearly more impressive than the 6 goals, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because it's hard to get that much on the XG. So, yeah, look, it was tinged with frustration as well, though, wasn't it? Because Frimpong had to come off in the game, which means and Konate is injured at the moment as well. So, no Konate or Frimpong is bad news. There's no Conor Bradley. Joe Gomez is very much touch and go for the weekend. So there's a scenario where Gravenberch might have to play centre-half and Endo or Soboslai has to fill in at right-back. So there's a bit of disruption there at the back. That's not ideal. But, yeah, they're in good nick. Going forward, Ekitike in good form, isn't he? Salah's, doing okay since he came back from AFCON. And I do fancy them, actually, under the lights, Saturday night, Anfield. I think it's got the makings of being, a good battle. But yeah, I think Liverpool, especially going forward with Ekitike and others, sort of looking quite sharp at the moment. Vierts is in good form, isn't he? Soboslai, if he does play further forward, is in good nick as well. I think they can cause Newcastle a few problems. The thing is with Newcastle, you don't know whether you can trust them away. Obviously, a good result against PSG, 1 apiece, showed good spirit, resilience. They might stick with that 3-4-3 at Anfield, which is interesting in itself, of course. But they have, blanked in 6 away games this season, and that's slightly concerning. 70% of all their goals away from St James's Park come in 2 games, at Burnley and at Everton. So can you trust Newcastle to score in this game or get more than 1? Not really. And I think that gives Liverpool a great chance of winning the game. Liverpool themselves, to be fair, haven't exactly been cutting loose at Anfield in Premier League terms. 6-0 obviously against Karabakh, but yeah, since that 4-2 against Bournemouth on the opening night, I remember working on that game, they haven't scored more than twice in any of their last 10 at Anfield, which is amazing, really, in Premier League terms. So they've been sort of low scoring in front of their own fans, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. I do think that Liverpool should win the game, but I don't think it will be a wild one like some of the old Liverpool-Newcastle games of yesteryear. Newcastle have been quite tight of late at the back. 4 they've conceded in their last 5 on the road. 10 of their 11 away games, Newcastle have seen under 4.5 goals. And as I've outlined, a lot of games at Anfield have been under 4.5 as well. So that's where I'm heading. Liverpool, you can back them just on the nose at an okay price here. But if you want a bit more juice, go Liverpool and under 4.5 goals. That's 2.38. I think the Newcastle can definitely make it competitive and keep it keep it fairly tight. But ultimately, are they going to carry enough threat in this game to see off the Reds? We'll have to wait and see, but I'm not so sure. So yeah, Liverpool and London's 2.38.
Okay, lock that in. Mark, on Newcastle, particularly second half, I mean, they got the equaliser just before halftime, seemed to ultimately change the game for them. And if anything, they had the better chances away to PSG. Their Champions League performances or results at least, have been better than the Premier League. And interesting, Anthony Gordon's comments outlining the difference between the two. But they can build a bit of momentum, similar to Liverpool, from their Champions League performance during the week into Anfield on Saturday night.
Yeah, I was impressed, especially how they reacted to that first sort of 15, 20 minutes when PSG looked like they could run away with the game. They played very well thereafter, and they were the better team in that last hour. They looked the more likely, even if PSG had the lion's share of possession and territory. They didn't look as if they were able to open up that Newcastle defence, whereas in transitions and counterattacks, Newcastle looked very threatening. So yeah, in terms of this match, it's a tricky one. I'm kind of happy to leave both teams alone. Now, Liverpool are a nice price on the surface of it. I've got data going back to 2014, and the biggest price Liverpool have been when hosting Newcastle in that sample is 1.5, which was way back in 2016. So to see them at almost 1.9 here, I did take a second look. They have traditionally a very good record against Newcastle as well. But they've really convinced and consistently convinced. Every sort of step forward they take, they always seem to sort of take a backward step thereafter, whether it's some sort of defensive issue, senior players underperforming, a lack of attacking fluency, concession of late goals. 7 now conceded in stoppage time, cost them 7 points already this season. And if we look at the Premier League in isolation, since they opened the season with 5 straight wins, they've only won 5 times in 18. They're ranked 12th in that 18-game sample, just 1 point better off than Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth. And Adrian's right. No Bradley, no Frimpong, no Canate, no Gomez. So you've got Gravenberch probably playing centre-back. You've got Jones or Endo at right-back. I can't back them at odds on with those kind of issues. Saying that, Newcastle don't always impress on the road. They were good in midweek, but as Adrian says, they've not been consistently reliable on the road at all. And Bruno Guimaraes was left on the bench in midweek. Does that mean he'll be available for this? Ideally, we want him available if I want to be pro-Newcastle, but just too many question marks around both teams. So I'm happy to leave that result alone and instead focus on goals, where the BTTS and under 4.5 pays 2.1. BTTS would be the concern, but it has landed in 8 of Newcastle's last 11 away games, as well as 5 of 8 at Anfield. 11 of the last 15 head-to-head. I've also seen both teams scoring. And I think with Liverpool's defensive issues, there's no reason why Newcastle shouldn't be able to cause them problems, create opportunities, and hopefully get on the score sheet here. And yeah, the unders tells its own story, really. 2.1 goals per game at Anfield since that opening game against Bournemouth in the Premier League. 10 successive under 3.5 games. Just the one Newcastle away day going over 4.5 as well. So, package BTTS and under 4.5 goals together, you've got an odds against shot there. And that's probably my way into this game, where too many question marks over either team to really sort of take them too seriously.
Yeah, I'll let you into secret. I had that down as initially as well. Both teams to score an under 4.5 goals, but then I sided with Liverpool for the reasons outlined, but also because in Premier League terms, they're actually a bogey team for Newcastle. The record is ridiculous, really. They've won 8, drawn 1, and lost none of their last 9 against Newcastle in the Premier League. Obviously, they got beat in the League Cup, didn't they? But Newcastle, you can take it even further back. Newcastle have failed to win any of their last 29 Premier League away games against Liverpool. 5 draws, 24 defeats. So they're kind of used to rocking up on Merseyside.
It's an astonishing head-to-head record, isn't it? Like you expect that to see like Man City against Burnley or something, but two established Premier League teams, it's staggering.
Yeah.
And it's not relevant in one sense, but it's the same staff going every year, it's the same fans going every year, the feeling around the club. Like it's
relevant to the fans.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Arsenal's record at Old Trafford, maybe going back 6-7 years ago onwards, was horrific, and you just felt Arsenal were never going to get anything in Old Trafford ever again. So it does have not a massive relevance, but because it's a different squad of players, of course. But I would never dismiss it for sure. Yeah, so very interesting stats there. 24 defeats, 5 draws, their last 29 Premier League trips to Anfield for Newcastle. Now we are going to lock this in as our £10 money back special, trying to engineer a treble based on the guys' selection. So we're going to do Liverpool double chance, both teams to score and under 4.5 goals. All you've got to do is put that and back that with the Matchbook Bet Builder at a price of around 2.63 and get your money back as a free bet up to £10 if that bet builder loses. Full T's and C's available on insights.matchbook.com, where incidentally Mark's European Insight selection is up. I love it, Mark. A Scottish selection then going into League A. Two completely different styles of football, but both covered from Mark O'Haire, and 3 selections there incidentally. Leeds versus Arsenal. Let's go here, Mark, because you've got an interesting pick here. We have to finally talk, I guess, a little bit about Arsenal against Manchester United. I mean, the net positive for the league and fans of the league and neutrals, if there is any neutrals left these days, is we have a title race. And in a typical title race, games away to a team like Leeds United are the games that ultimately decide your season, whether you win it or not.
Yep. Let's be glass half full to start with then. Arsenal are 4 points clear at the top, progressing in every cup competition. You've got pretty much a full squad available or close to it. You've played most of all the toughest away days already this season, bar Man City. So the schedule is in your favour, really. And if you look at last week's defeat, Arsenal didn't play particularly well, but they conceded with 3 goals from 3 shots on target, 2 of which were out of the box worldies, and just a really sloppy error as well. So very preventable, you'd like to think. And on another day, Arsenal don't lose that game. The negatives: winless in 3 league games. The rhetoric, the reaction to last week's defeat by Arsenal supporters and everyone surrounding the club just felt very over the top, very, very, very nervous already, considering we've not even entered February and you've got that advantage at the top of the table. But yes, impotent from open play yet again. And I guess the sort of defensive solidity we've seen throughout the last 18 months or so has gone a little bit awry in recent weeks. But, you know, they're still the best team in the league across all the major metrics. They still should be winning the league from this position. But, that nervousness is something that I think a lot of people picked up on. And suddenly this game away at Leeds becomes a little tricky, a lot more tricky than it was back in August when Arsenal romped against Leeds. And sure, they've got a great head-to-head record against Leeds too, but this is a very, very different assignment as well from what they faced back in August. Leeds have come on leaps and bounds. Obviously, that tactical shift has worked very, very well in their favour. Just 1 defeat in 10 or 11 it is now, I think it is. That was the 2 stoppage time goals conceded at Newcastle. On that occasion, they actually played really, really well, deserves something from the game as well. At Ellen Road, just 2 defeats, 5 wins, 4 draws. Chelsea and Liverpool have found out how dangerous they can be at Ellen Road. And of course, we saw that turnaround in the second half at Man City, which produced this sort of tactical shift, which has invoked all these positive results and performances. We saw that they can give big teams tough assignments. They are a big physical side, so they carry their own threat from set pieces. Perhaps that might nullify Arsenal's own threat from dead ball situations a little bit. I'm not sure, but we'll have to wait and see. In terms of Leeds, 4th on a home expected points. They are giving up just 14 big chances across the campaign at Ellen Road. That's the same figure as Arsenal at the Emirates. So I do not expect Arsenal to have a walkover here whatsoever. I think it's going to be pretty tough if they are to win. And I think they are being a little bit, I think the market's made them a little bit too short, to be honest. I think this is a much more difficult test than the market suggests. Arsenal at 157 to win away at Ellen Road. So my play here is to back Leeds with a +1 start at 199. So pretty much even money here for Leeds, effectively not to lose by 2 goals or more. Arsenal have won just twice in the last 6 away league games. But I went back to January 2025, so full calendar year. Arsenal have played 20 away league games. They've won 10 of those, 50% win rate, which is good, but not great. Not really a sort of a hit rate you to associate with a team at 157. They've only covered the Asian handicap line 3 times in those 20 away games. Burnley this season, Leicester and Ipswich last season. So 2 relegated teams and a soon-to-be relegated team. They're the only 3 times they've won by 2 goals or more away from home in that 20-game sample. Leeds haven't lost by this margin at home this season. They haven't lost by this margin since November's international break. And their performances are reflected in the data. I've got them 7th over a 12-game sample on expected points, 5th over an 8-game sample as well. They're just not an easy team to put away these days. And I fancy a shot on them with a +1 start here, knowing Arsenal need to win by 2 goals or more for the bet to lose, and it's even money.
Okay. Adrian, obviously you can cover Arsenal in just a second. On Leeds, we actually spoke about this maybe before the Fulham game and they got the win. But it feels like, because they've been playing so well for so long, it feels like they're so much further away from the relegation zone than 6 points. 6 draws in their last 9 games shows they're competitive every single game. Defeats to Newcastle away, for example, in there. So like, there could have been more draws, more wins, but they are going to be competitive in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see a scenario where Leeds score for sure. I mean, they've only blanked in one Premier League match at Elland Road this season. That was very early on in the season against Newcastle. So yeah, like they'll be competitive here, no doubt about that. They will throw their weight around. Got no question that will happen. They are big and strong. They are aggressive, and Arsenal will know that they're in a game, but in a funny kind of way, in a sort of red hot atmosphere, where the fans will drive the team forward. It might just make for the type of game where Arsenal can play through them and have a little bit of joy, because they're not just going to sit off and let Arsenal have the ball all the time. They will be aggressive and they'll get tight to players and they'll try and get man to man where they can as well. And that's where I think Arsenal's quality can tell. Leeds did let in 5 against Arsenal earlier on this season. They also let in 3 against City, Chelsea and Liverpool. So, against the real top teams, the big boys, they haven't always been able to keep clean sheets. That said, they did at Anfield, which was really impressive. Having watched that game, Liverpool were miles off it. I'm expecting Arsenal to be a lot better in this game. Now, I don't know if you saw Arteta's quotes. Probably Daniel, you did when he discussed the Man United game. I really liked what he said. I like the attitude, sort of a rallying call in regards to, let's not worry about what we can lose. Let's go, and we've got an opportunity to win 4 trophies here. Let's enjoy the ride. Let's be a bit more courageous, be braver, and just have fun. And he's trying to take the pressure off the players. And obviously it was only Khairat Almaty last night, but and 11 changes. But we did see a bit. It was like a breath of fresh air. It was an easy game. It was the right game to do that in. But so much more positive, so many more forward passes, so much more adventure. And now the challenge is, can they take that into the Premier League games? And I think with most of the big boys rested against Khairat, they'll come into this game feeling quite fresh. And I think they can win the game. So my pick is Arsenal to win over 1.5 goals. 7 of Arsenal's last 8 Premier League wins have been over 1.5 goals. The exception was the one at Everton. They've not been totally watertight lately, Arsenal either. Talked about Leeds scoring goals as well. Arsenal conceded 13 in the last 10 in all competitions since Christmas. So it's not been quite as dominant. It's not been very 1-0 to the Arsenal of late. And so that's the scoreline we're taking out here, isn't it? We're taking out the 1-0, but any other kind of win for Arsenal will do. Look, I can't knock Leeds. They are doing very, very well, but there is a class difference here. And I do expect Arsenal, having had those setbacks, having had a little bit of a reset this week, I expect them to come out a different animal at Elland Road and to win this game. So yeah, Arsenal to win over 1.5 goals. It's 1.96, and I don't mind it.
I think both the guys laid out a good case there, which is just shows you how hard the Premier League in general is to call. But Mark going with the Asian handicap line and Leeds plus 1 goal at about even money. And Adrian, it's in the other section on the Match with Betting Exchange. You can back Arsenal to win and over 1.5 goals at 196. Adrian touched on the narrative. Arsenal 145 still to win the Premier League. City 4.2, and nervously for both Mark and maybe Adrian, I think, said Villa have no chance. 18.0 Villa. So the market's giving them a squeak. Mark, I will
come in, haven't they? Yeah, from what was it, 40?
I think at the time, and Mark said no chance, absolutely no chance. Still no chance.
Injured, Kamara's injured, no chance.
Okay, we'll do this each and every week when Villa win. I promise you that. Just remind me in the comments. Let's go to Villa, or to Forest, versus Crystal Palace, and take a look at the betting that we currently have on Matchbook in just a second. But Adrian, take us through this game. I always find it tough to go to you when you ultimately back unders. So tell us why this game won't be any good.
Well, Palace are in bits, aren't they? I mean, they are horrible. It must be a horrible time, excuse me, to be an Eagles fan, because they're all jumping ship. The manager's off. They lost Gahey. Mateta wants out. Wharton suspended for this game. It's all going wrong. They're the worst team in the division on current form. Since match day 16, they've won 2 points. They've scored 4 goals. They've lost 6 games. Got -12 goal difference. it's all gone pear-shaped. That might produce a little bit of a rally from them here, and they'll go to the City ground and looking to sort of not get beaten and to sort of go back to basics. I think that's what they have to do, really. There's a bit of beef, isn't there, between the two clubs? Obviously, there's a sense among Palace fans that Forest tucked them up a little bit in the summer, stole their Europa League place. So I think there'll be a lot of determination from Crystal Palace. Whether they're good enough to win the game and to score goals, I don't know, because they're not playing well at the moment at all. Away from home, Palace have been really sort of tight, haven't they, all season? They've scored 13, they've conceded 13. This is an 11 away game, so you get a sense there that the away matches involving Crystal Palace are all pretty low scoring. As for Forest, just 12 goals at the City ground this season in 11 home games. They've not been free flowing at all in front of their own supporters. They're on a great little run, aren't they? The three good results, the draw with Arsenal 0-0, and then the away wins at West Ham and Brentford, suddenly feeling good about themselves, which is great for them. But they're still not scoring goals on their own patch very often, not winning that many games either, to be perfectly honest. As for Palace, by the way, only scored 4 times in the last 8 matches. So I like unders here big time. If you look at the history of the fixture as well, which we did earlier on with the Liverpool Newcastle, the last 7 Premier League meetings have all been under 4.5 goals, and I'm pretty sure actually they've all been under 2.5 goals rather. 7 in a row. So it's 1-1, 1-0, 0-0, 1-1, 1-0. Very, very binary in terms of the goal scoring exploits between these two sides. So I just see 2 kind of slightly tired teams after Thursday night in Europe slogging it out in a fairly cagey match with not that much quality in attack for both teams. So under 2.5 goals, backable for me at 1.84.
Yeah, all I can say is thank God for the other 2 o'clock Sunday games. Mark, he's really selling it. And just looking at Palace's fixtures, they could be safe in the next 2 or 3 weeks. They play away to Forest, away to Brighton, and then Burnley and Wolves to come in those 4 games. So, they could be safe in 3 or 4 weeks, but they could also be dragged straight into it. They're not out of this relegation battle, and the Conference League playoff round is not coming at a good time for them around those Burnley and Wolves games as well. So if they can just get a victory Sunday, it sort of ends that relegation thing almost, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I don't disagree with Adrian's view of how this match might play out. I don't think it'll be particularly goal heavy, but I'm not saying it wouldn't be a watchable affair. I think there'll be plenty of beef between these 2 teams. So I'm quite looking forward to it in a weird sort of way. El Clasico, isn't it? The 2 teams who went to CAS in the summer about their European potential. But there's a lot of beef off the field. Whether that will translate to the players or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I'd rather be at Forest, quite understandably, than Palace right now. 7 points from 9, back-to-back clean sheets. They've got their first choice back 4 available again and playing. Sangare is back in midfield as well. That's a big boost. And they're now actually 11th based on results since Sean Dyche took charge and produced a very typical Sean Dyche display at Brentford last weekend. Relatively solid and threatening on the counter-attack too. So, they haven't been playing particularly well at City ground. And I guess when you're asked to play on the front foot and make the running, they can be a little bit awkward and clunky at times, and that will be the case here. So I'm not going to back them to win, but I'm happy to sort of partner Nottingham Forest double chance alongside something else here, because Adrian's right. Palace's recent run has been really, really wretched. Without a win now, significant players missing this weekend or sold. Looks like they're about to get a deal done for Strand Larsen for £50 million, which seems absolutely bizarre, which probably pushes Mateta closer to the exit and potentially a move to Forest. So he could easily be lined up against them potentially. But it's an unhappy camp right now, so quite easy to oppose them. And I'm going to partner that Forest double chance with over 3.5 cards. We've talked about it being a big game, a big relegation battle. Obviously a lot of negativity between the 2 based on what happened in the summer. And recent meetings between these 2 have been quite card heavy. 6, 9 and 5 card totals in their last 3. Michael Salisbury is refereeing. He's gone over that total in 9 of 12 in the league this season, 7 of 9 in the Premier League. He did Palace's trip to Everton, flashed 5 cards, 3 of which went to Palace players, and that's been a bit of a theme for Palace this season, picking up cards. They've had 3 or more in 8 of their 11 away days, and 8 of those 11 away days also went over 3.5 cards, and 70% of all Premier League games involving Palace have gone over 3.5 cards. So they do most of the work themselves in terms of reaching that total. So yeah, happy to partner over 3.5 cards alongside Forest Double Chance, pays about 9 to 10.
Okay, let's lock in those 2 selections. And there's 2 other games in the 2 o'clock window. As I said, Villa, Brentford, United, Fulham is the game picked, and the other 2 games moved for Europa/Conference League reasons. Spurs versus Manchester City. We'll go back to you, Adrian, for this one. City, I mean, this could be the start of the run now, given Semenyo settled in. Mark Gahey made his debut last week. They were fine against Wolves. They pressed well. They deserved to be in front and then just stuck at it. Where are you at with this Manchester City team? Obviously, a win during the week as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Manchester United performance is a concern. There's no doubt about that, because they were comprehensively outplayed there. But they've responded okay, haven't they? You know, a couple of professional sort of wins, not blowing the socks off of anyone, but they're doing the biz. And yeah, look, I do think Semenyo and Gahey are 2 terrific signings. I really do. You can't knock that in terms of that they will improve them. They want Haaland to hit top gear sooner rather than later, won't they? And maybe this will be the day. Look, it's not a strong selection for me, really. I'm going to back City here, and over 1.5 goals, but it's done tentatively because I don't know if you can fully trust them away from home just yet. I just get that sense that City, being City, I might be ready to put a little run together. I think you have to look at Tottenham's home record, don't you? And we've been banging on about it all season. And Spurs have gone to Frankfurt and won, and you know they're not in awful form, but at home it's not been great, has it? You know, they've lost 4 or 5 at home to the top 7. They've conceded more than once as well this season, home and away. Spurs in 11 of 23 games, in 5 of their games against the top 7 as well. They've let in more than 1 goal. So I can see City scoring twice at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and I think that will probably be enough to get the job done. I'm just taking out the 1-0 away win here. There is the fact that Spurs were a bit of a bogey team for Manchester City, so that is something to consider. They did win, of course, under Thomas Frank 2-0 at the Etihad. So maybe they've got the blueprint, Spurs, I don't know, to beat City. I just sense that City will fancy it against a side that have been really poor on their own patch, where the supporters could get a little bit toxic. Even though they've done well in the Champions League, at home, they've not seen enough good performances. They've seen far too many shambolic defeats. And if City start this game well and get their noses in front, it could get a little bit nasty. And they'll look to play into their hands. And City have been good flat track bullies this season. They've won 9. Drawn 2, and they have lost 2 against bottom half teams, but by and large they tend to get the job done against teams like this. And of their 14 wins, by the way, this season, Man City in the Premier League, only 1 has been 1-0. So you know, if you think about the jump that we're getting here by saying Man City and over 1.5, taking it to pretty much even money at 1.98. I think that makes sense. And that's why I've been sort of suckered in to this particular bet, because they don't get very many 1-0ers under Pep Guardiola. So that's my pick. But look, I'm desperately hoping I'm wrong and that Spurs can somehow get a result here. You know, and come on, Spurs fans out there. I mean, they prayed for that defeat, didn't they, to Manchester City a couple of seasons ago, where they wanted their team to lose and to give City the title. They got their wish. It hasn't exactly worked out well for them since, has it? It's been pretty horrific. Karma's been fairly sweet from an Arsenal perspective. So yeah, I'd love Spurs to beat the bogey team again.
People think, it's social media noise. No, I know Spurs fans, and were cheering on Man City, and arguably cheering on Man City this Sunday as well, believe it or not. But we will see. Mark, over to you. And on the Spurs thing, right? And if you were to make the case for Thomas Frank, to be fair to him, you would say, I mean, 3 top goal scorers, I think, from last season, or at least 3 amongst the goals: Maddison, Kulusevski, and Solanke. Now, he has got Solanke back in some capacity, scored a couple of Champions League goals. Is there something for Thomas Frank to build on here?
Based on what evidence, really? Probably not, to be honest. What irks me a little bit with Spurs, and obviously I'm going back to my Ange Postecoglou love here, but Ange had just as many injuries to deal with as well, if not more. His team were shredded with injuries throughout his reign, yet he still managed to engineer largely some quite positive, exciting, interesting matches to follow. So whilst they weren't always winning, and particularly in the Premier League, things were tough, it was normally quite a decent watch, whereas Thomas Frank's Tottenham in the Premier League have just been largely pretty underwhelming, pretty awful as a spectacle. And look, they required a last-minute equaliser at Burnley to avoid defeat last weekend. Not ideal. Their Champions League form is masking what has been a hugely disappointing campaign so far, and the Champions League form is difficult to sort of take with any seriousness too, because they only beat one of the top 24 teams in the schedule. They've had a really, really kind run in terms of their opposition too. So they've been pitifully poor at sort of creating chances from open play. I think it's pretty telling that only 3 Spurs players have scored more than 5 goals this season, 2 of which are Christian Romero and Mickey van der Ven. So set pieces have often been their saviour. And, you know, they return home here where the atmosphere is toxic, often quite defeatist as well before a ball is kicked. And yeah, you've got that stack of injuries to really sort of key players as well, with Pedro Porro being the latest to join the list. And just to sort of highlight how far they've fallen, they were third and 2 points off the top going into October's international break. They were still third on the final day of October. But if you look at the results since the 1st of November in the Premier League, they are 18th. In those 14 league games, they've scored just 16 goals and won only twice. Now they've got City, then they've got Man United, Newcastle and Arsenal. With West Ham and Forest picking up points, it wouldn't be a huge surprise to see them getting dragged into a bit of a relegation battle the way things are going. And it must be really, really frustrating for Tottenham supporters, because Thomas Frank has left a team who was sitting 8th and sold a collection of their best players in the summer, and you're sort of languishing down there in the bottom half, looking over your shoulders. So it's very difficult for me to be positive about Spurs in this match. I think City on the nose at 171 is absolutely fine. It's not a sexy price. So to get a better, more palatable price, I'm going to include under 4.5 goals of Man City to win, is 222. They will be stronger than they were in midweek with Rodri, Guehi and Semenyo back in the squad. Nico Gonzalez is back as well. We'll see if he partners Haaland and Marmoush, or whether one or either or both play. But both have been getting in the score sheet in the last week as well. And look, City aren't always completely convincing on their travels, but it's 5 wins from 8 when you exclude the top 4 away from home. They've also won the XG battle and 8 of 11 away this season. They've won 3 of the last 4 trips to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as well. But yeah, their games don't often escalate in the Premier League anymore. Under 4.5 goals in 20 of their 23 league games this season. And just a couple more gut punches to Spurs, but I bring these stats out every time they cover them at home. 4 wins in the last 25 league games at home, 15 defeats in that 25 game sample, 6 clean sheets in the last 49 at home, which is just extraordinarily bad. City are pretty much second to Arsenal across all the major metrics when viewing the season as a whole, or the away record as well. So, you know, they are the second best team in the division by, they are, and Spurs simply aren't. So I fancy City to win quite strongly.
4 wins in 25 home league games. That's doesn't get talked about enough. Even though it gets talked about all the time, it still doesn't get talked about enough, if that makes
15
sense.
defeats as well. 15 losses in 25.
And I'm conscious we've a double Arsenal representation, so I don't like sticking the boot in, but that is shocking. We'll move on. Any other bets? What we're having in the Championship, Adrian, is fascinating, particularly the midweek results, and Norwich getting the victory at home to Coventry brings Middlesbrough to within 3 points. And ironically, both Middlesbrough and Norwich are playing each other this weekend. But Borough are going very well, and chance to chase down Coventry with Ipswich on their tail as well.
Yeah, it's getting really exciting. Yeah, I think obviously it'll be 2 from the 3 of Coventry, Borough and Ipswich. Ipswich are going big in the transfer market. Borough did sign, I think, Jeremy Sarmiento this week, so that he's a good player, exciting talent. So yeah, they've swelled their ranks there. Yeah, look, these are 2 very informed teams. Look, Borough are on fire at the moment. They're scoring goals for fun. They've won their last 2 home games 4-0. They've scored 13 goals in their last 4 games. And Norwich have won their last 3, scoring 9 goals. They've turned it around under Philippe Clement. So yeah, this is a fun game, and one that I'd recommend. You know, that if you can tune into it, get involved. I like both teams to score here at 1.8. 80% of Norwich's away games this season have seen both teams score land. They did win 5-0 away to West Brom in their last road trip, but prior to that, 8 matches in a row away from Carrow Road saw them concede and score. So it's quite consistent. Borough have obviously found their feet going forward now. They've improved in that regard. I wouldn't say they're watertight at all, though, Borough. They've conceded goals in 15 of their last 18 matches. So those 2 clean sheet wins at home have been a bit of an outlier. So yeah, I really like the look of this. Both teams can absolutely land blows on one another. It's a 1.8 shot.
Okay, and second selection is Lincoln, going very well in League One, have Irish representation there too, so quite an exciting time against a Wigan side who will be playing Arsenal in the Emirates, but not going so well themselves.
Yeah, I don't know if the manager will be there by the time they get there. That's the issue for Ryan Lowe. They've not won in 5. They've sort of slipped down the table. They're actually not safe, Wigan Athletic. It's been a bit of a miserable run. Wigan haven't beaten anyone above 10th place in the league yet. In those games against the top 9, they've lost 8 and drawn 4, which is a shocking record. And at home, they're not in good form as well. They're a bit low on belief. The fans, not exactly sort of enamored by what's happening this season. They've scored twice, Wigan, in the last 5 home games, and they entertain the form team in League One. And I just don't think that they're being respected in the market here. 2.34 you can get on Lincoln to win the game. They're second in the division. There's a bit of a cushion there as well. And across the last 12 matches in League One, they've won 8 of them, and they are top of the form table. No one's been better over the last 12 games than Lincoln City. They last got beaten on the 22nd of November. And wait for this, they've scored at least 2 goals in 9 of their last 10 games. So they're banging them in for fun. They're not a great footballing team, but they're high energy. They work hard. They're very well drilled. They just can't stop winning, Lincoln. So for me, to get them on board at 2.34 against the Wigan side that are in bad form, particularly at home, yeah, it feels like something I had to flag, really. So yeah, Lincoln to win at Wigan, 2.34.
Okay, let's lock it in. If you look at the table, that should be a lot shorter. Mark, Hendrick has hit the ground running big time for Leon, and so much so they're already looking to extend his loan deal. How can we make some money out of that?
Yeah, that won't happen, Leon. Good luck. We'll back him to score this weekend. He's come off a magnificent hat-trick against Metz last week, which means he's now got 4 goals in his opening 3 starts for Leon. And Leon are going great guns at the minute. And their opposition this weekend, Lille, definitely are not. They've lost all 5 games in 2026. They've conceded 2 goals or more in each of those. They're 13 goals conceded in total, 3 home defeats, which includes a 4-1 defeat at home to Strasbourg last weekend when they were utterly awful. And one of those defeats as well at home came against Lyon in the Coupe de France, which is where Hendrick scored his debut goal for Lyon, who they face again this weekend. And look, things have gotten really bad at Lille, so much so that their head coach, Bruno Genesio, attempted to resign a fortnight ago after their defeat to Celta in the Europa League. He described their efforts this season or this calendar year as being bordering scandalous. And team news-wise, they are really struggling as well. Hamza Igamane is out for the season, the centre-forward, with an ACL injury, which he got at AFCON. It means Olivier Giroud is the only recognised centre-forward. There are also big absences in midfield with Andre Gomez, Benjamin Andre, and Bentaleb also missing. And they're also playing Lyon, who are their nemesis. 5 defeats in the last 6 head-to-heads. So Lyon come into this clash having won 9 of 10 across all comps, and Hendrick has made a sensational start. As I say, 3 starts, 4 goals in total. He scored in 2 of those 3 games. In those 3 matches, he's had 16 shots, 11 shots on target, and produced XG tallies of 0.54, 0.80, and 1.72. Quite a hell of an introduction to the league. And now he's facing a Lille team with 6 defeats in 8 on the road, and 2 goals or more conceded in 6 of 9 away from home as well. So Hendrick to score around about 2.3 or bigger. You could even back the brace at around 6-1 or so, or even back him to have multiple shots on target, because that's landed in all 3 of his starts as well. But we'll take the goal at 2.3.
Yeah, the guy seems to be a real talent. In fairness, great to see him living up to that already in such a short space of time at Lyon. Long shot times now. We'll stay tuned for Mark O'Hare's one here for sure. But we'll start with a nice one from Adrian Clarke here. We're seeing 90th host 91st in the football pyramid. Yeah. So can you just explain to viewers and listeners why 91st place team is 5.2 versus Bristol Rovers, who are around, I think, 176 or something?
Yeah. That's why I picked them. It's fairly simple. I mean, but there's a killer stat here that will sort of prick your attention immediately. I think Bristol Rovers have lost their last 8 home matches in League Two, and Newport go there as 5-2 shots this weekend. So, yeah, I could jump on board with that. I mean, I don't really need to say a lot else, really. Look. Obviously both have struggled big time. Newport, what I will say is that 3 of their 5 wins this season have come away. Under Christian Fuchs, the former Leicester title winner, of course, they're playing a different sort of brand of football. They're looking to knock it around a bit. They're certainly more attacking than they were. And that means that Newport have actually scored in 8 of their last 10 matches, which I think you'd agree is pretty good going for a team that's second bottom of the league. They've actually scored 8 goals in their last 5. Albeit they've leaked a few as well, Newport. So they come into it kind of full of goals. Now, Bristol Rovers lost 8 in a row at home. It's dreadful. They've actually lost 9 of 13 in total on their own patch. And in those 13 games, Bristol Rovers have scored 8 goals. Absolutely shocking, really. Lowest number of goals scored by any team at home in League Two, just the 8. And they've failed to score in more than half of their home games. They've actually scored, wait for this, Bristol Rovers, they've scored 3 goals at home since the end of September, which I feel for the Gas fans there big time. They've got a new manager, of course, in Steve Evans. Hasn't really made a big impression so far. So look, they're at home, so they're worthy favourites, I guess, but I just think 5.2, on the away win here, given what I've just said, feels like it's worth a tickle.
Okay, yeah, 5.2 mark seems big, and you can lead into your long shot here, which is Yerson Mosquera, anytime goal scorer. Hasn't scored this season, so on the face of it, a terrible bet, but there is a lot of shots he's producing.
Yeah, I was interested in how Wolves performed at the Etihad last weekend, considering their defensive improvements under Rob Edwards, and they were under the cosh in the first half. But overall, I thought they performed pretty well, showed plenty of spirit, plenty of organisation. They actually drew the shot counts away at Man City last week, 11-11. 5 of those 11 shots came from Yerson Mosquera, and 2 of them from set pieces, 3 of them from open play. And this weekend, Wolves are hosting Bournemouth, and Bournemouth are the worst team in the league for conceding goals from set pieces. We saw Van Dijk score from one last week, which was the 16th goal Bournemouth have conceded from set pieces this season. Only Burnley have lost a higher percentage of aerial duels, and they've also faced the 4th most shots from dead ball situations. What's more, if you look at their away record, they are 3rd for fouls committed and 4th for corners conceded. So they are being or can be dominated physically and aerially, and they give their opportunities or give opponents plenty of opportunities from dead ball situations due to their consistent fouling and the concession of corners. And obviously next up is Wolves, who are quite imposing, quite physical. None more so Van Mosquera. I think he's 1.87 m, big imposing guy, loves to throw his weight around. He hasn't scored in the Premier League yet, but he is a big threat from dead ball situations. And in terms of minutes played, he is quite significantly the leader for attempts from set pieces for Wolves, averaging 1 every 131 minutes, which isn't bad considering Wolves are rock bottom and have barely won a game this season. So he had 5 attempts at Man City last week, 2 against Newcastle previously. He's had 10 shots in his last 5 outings, a cumulative XG of 1.18. So you could say he's absolutely due one. And if he doesn't score, he'll probably get a card because he's been booked 8 times this season. So he's averaging a card every 131 minutes. Unfortunately, you'll only get about 5-2 on that. So we'll go with the goal, which is around about anything from 11-1 to 13-1. So I like the look. I'll probably pick the wrong Wolves centre half here, but I'm going with Big Yerson, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, a big price, and as Mark said there, he's backed it up with stats. Let's go on to best bets, and the one team I didn't mention for the championship title race, potentially, Adrian, is Hull City. Obviously Millwall in the running there as well, but Hull have that game in hand along with Ipswich. They travel away to Blackburn, and you're expecting them to, well, on the Asian handicap, you think it's a cracking bet to back them draw no bet?
Yeah, I mean, you get Hull, one of the form teams in the division on draw no bet. 2.12 at Blackburn Rovers, and I really like it. Hull have won 7 of their last 9. They've only lost 1 of those 9. they're in great nick at the moment. Away from home, last 6, they've won 5, drawn 1. So yeah, look, they've gone away from home all season with real confidence. Hull City, they're actually second in the form table. Second in the away table. So yeah, only one team's accrued more points. They've scored 26 away goals. Only Coventry, the leaders, have got more. So yeah, they can absolutely. They will go to Ewood Park to win, and they'll go there trying to score goals. Hull City, as they look to sort of be part of the conversation in terms of top 2. Blackburn are not in a good place. They've got a really small squad. It's stretched. They don't have next to no firepower whatsoever. There's a couple of good players in there. They're actually not bad at the back, is what I'd say. But in terms of going forward, they don't carry a great deal of threat. And their home record this season has been abysmal, really bad. They've won 2 of 14 matches at Ewood Park. They've lost 7 of those. In general, they've failed to win in each of their last 7 as well. And they haven't kept it. Well, they've failed to keep a clean sheet in 13 of those 14 home games. So they almost always concede. And if they concede here, then there's a chance they won't win the game. There's every chance that they can't win the game because they'd need to score at least 2, and they don't do that too often, Blackburn Rovers. So yeah, this stood out to me as a really good price, a little bit like Newport and Lincoln on the away team. Hull plus 0.0 on the handicap, 2.12.
Okay, that's locked in there. And we move on to Mark's best bet. And best bet on the card comes from Scottish League 1 and Stenhousemuir. Going quite well, and you think they can, at home to Peterhead, they can do the business at around even money.
Yeah, move over Arsenal, Man City and Aston Villa, the real title races in Scottish League 1. Stenhousemuir coming right on it at the minute. 4 wins and 1 draw in the last 5, which includes a win at home to Inverness, who currently top the table. There's now just a single point between them, and Steny are going really well right now. Gary Naismith, the head coach there, the former Everton and Scotland fullback. So yeah, they're back at home this weekend. Their home record is okay, 6 wins, 4 draws and 1 defeat. They are averaging 1.73 goals, but their defence is super strong, 6 clean sheets in those 11 games. And coming into this match, home or away, they've kept clean sheets in 6 of the last 7 league games. So I think they look really well placed to extend their recent run. They're around even money to beat Peterhead, mid-table Peterhead, who have already lost 3-1 and 4-1 to Steny this season. And yeah, they arrive in poor form themselves. 6 defeats in 10, 5 defeats in 8, 4 defeats in 6. So whichever way you want to look at it, Peterhead are not in great place right now, and they've had struggles on the road all season. They've been beaten in 6 of 9 away days, including 4 of 6 against the top 4. If we take out the bottom 2, they've scored just 3 times in 7 games away from home. And they've also managed home or away just 2 clean sheets all season, conceding 2 goals per game. So, yeah, Peterhead have lost all 4 meetings with the current top 2. And you look at this match, you've got Stenhousemuir in form at home with a rock-solid defence, facing a poor travelling Peterhead team who struggle for goals and clean sheets. I think either money or better is a great bet. So Stenhousemuir to beat Peterhead.
Okay, insights.matchbook.com. If you want a full recap of all the guys picked, you can, of course, head over there. And we'll be back this time next week to preview another round of the Premier League action. But enjoy this weekend's football. If having a bet, making sure it does enhance that enjoyment, you do so responsibly. And we'll chat to you this time next week. Bye-bye.